Alright, I'm Cameron Healy. I'm in Northeast PA right now. I'm from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I'm here at Riverdale basically because I've become involved in a direct action campaign in Pennsylvania against natural gas extraction. And what I see at Riverdale is a community that's being displaced by a company, Aqua America, that wants to build a water withdrawal site on the Susquehanna. So I see that, and that's the basic situation. What I see in that situation is a company demanding a resource, which is water, and saying that no matter what they have to do to the people that are there, which is to go through backroom deals and shady deals with government and zoning restrictions and things like that, that they'll do what they need to do in order to get the people out of the way and get their resource. So what I really see is like a resource grab going on, and I see that the way that water is getting taken is related to the natural gas industry, and we don't have like a decreasing dependence on fossil fuels. We have increasing dependence on them. So we're going to have increasing usage of things that we have a right to, like fresh and clean water, which could be used for farming. It can be used for the benefit of all of the species that live in the river. It can be used by the people that live on the river and have a relationship to it, but those relationships are being taken for monetary gain and basically just destroyed. So what I see is, it's hard to describe for me right now because I don't think I've heard it described completely accurately yet, but it sort of feels like the companies that are behind this are bringing tactics that they've brought externally to like developing countries for years and years and years into the United States, and that they're trying to basically pick on marginalized communities in the United States that they think people don't care about and do it to them first. So I see a real opportunity in this struggle at Riverdale to assert that that's not going to happen anymore and open the space up for everyday normal people to come out and resist this happening to them. And hopefully I see after this more people realizing that they have a right to do that because their rights are being trampled on. So that's basically why I'm here. That would be it.
Have you talked to the Army Corps of Engineers about the water they want to take out? Do you know anything about where they stand with that?
I haven't talked to them. I know that from talking to friends in Pennsylvania that they are pretty much in line with the rulings of things like the SRBC, which is the Susquehanna River Basin Commission, in the permitting process. So I'm not sure what their particular stance on it would be, other than that they sit on those hearing meetings and those hearings and meetings, and in those hearings and meetings those permits are always unanimously approved. So they seem to agree that it's fine to take the water out and withdraw it for usage in industrial processes.
So they want to put a pump here and take how much water out of the Susquehanna?
I believe from this site it would be up to 3 million barrels a day of water, or 3 million gallons. I believe. I would want to check that right now, just because I haven't had too much sleep in the past day, so I could be misquoting it, but do you know what it is, Ray?
What?
How much it is per day?
The water?
Yeah, from this site. It's 3 million gallons a day, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying, yeah. And that there was also, like, a few other water withdrawal sites along the same waterway.
Yeah, I know that on this is the west branch of the Susquehanna. I know that just upstream and just downstream there are other water withdrawal sites. And Something that's like troubling that I haven't really figured out, because it's going to take a lot of research to figure out, is whether the water they're withdrawing is potable or non-potable, because you're really not supposed to use drinking water for industrial processes, but people receive their drinking water from the river, and people irrigate with the river and things like that. So that's another issue, like, because you would think that the Army Corps would at least be concerned about water supplies for the citizens of Pennsylvania.
Now, you come from the Chesapeake Bay area, taking the water out of the Susquehanna, which goes there. What's this going to do to the bay?
That's an issue. That's another issue. That's like the amount of research that's needed for me to answer that accurately. I don't have right now, but I do know that one of the areas in which it affects the bay is that up until very recently, the way that the wastewater from fracking, so after they had taken the water out and then fracked with it, and then they have this leftover water, the way they were dealing with it is they were putting it into waste treatment centers on the Susquehanna and filtering it back into the river. So one way in which it affects the bay is that any of the contaminants, any of the industrial chemicals they use get into the Susquehanna, and then those end up in the bay. And the bay has a tremendous amount of pollution from the Eastern Shore, which is heavily industrialized towards chicken farming. So there's pollution there, there's a lot of fertilizer and pesticide probably there too, and there's various other pollutants in the bay. So I've read some reports where scientists have said, you can predict the effect of a certain chemical, but you can't predict what that chemical does as it travels through the water supply and hits other chemicals or other pollutants, and then changes its chemical formation to become potentially more like toxic or harmful to people and all of the animals and creatures that live in that waterway further down. And I would imagine that reducing the amount of water coming through the Susquehanna would have the effect of reducing the fresh water that's coming into the bay, since the bay is a brackish waterway, a mixture of seawater and freshwater rivers.
What's going to happen here Monday, and have you talked to any other resistance groups like Ruckus Society? Do you have anything going on with Ruckus, and what's going to happen here Monday?
I think Monday we're going to get up at 6 a.m. and we're going to come out to the blockades and be ready for work starting at 7 a.m. and we'll see. We're not really sure. We were expecting there to be contractors coming out today at 7 a.m. It's now past 5, I believe, and none have shown up. As far as Ruckus Society, I don't think we've had any direct contact with groups like that, but we have been spreading press releases through various networks, so people from those groups are becoming aware of it. And there's groups like Mountain Justice, let's see what else, like the Rising Tide Network is a network that's been reached out to. So the press release is going out to groups like that. It'll be up to individuals in those groups to start organizing and then calling back out to us and asking what they can do. Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to say?
I guess the only other thing I would say is that people should really consider what's going on in a larger historical context and try and think about what it must be like if you're in a resource-rich country that's underdeveloped, when companies come in and push you off your land and say, like, what is underneath of you or what you can grow here is more important than your livelihood and your community and your relationship with your land. And there needs to be a lot of education, and probably self-education and then organized education to get people to realize that these processes have been playing out for a really long time all over the world, and now it seems like the companies are doing it in the United States. And it's not that the United States is the most important place in the world, but it's, you know, it's where I'm from, and it's just, I think people have a disbelief that it could happen here in a lot of ways that aren't from, of course there are people that it's been happening to them since, you know, the beginnings of the United States, but it's definitely happening now, and it's happening in places like rural Pennsylvania, it's happening in places like North Dakota as well, with the gas fields there. But these stories sort of need to get understood in the framework that is a historical one, so that people can see how it relates to this larger picture and start to resist it effectively. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.